Hey folks, wake up. It's Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 49, and today we will discuss the perils of the perception of a lack of imperfection, or something like that, whatever I wrote on there. It's kind of an appropriate way to start this thing, a little goof up there, because I do these things impromptu, on the fly, literally. I was sitting there pondering for a second the things that I'm going to say. I had a notion of what I was going to say already. I wrote out the title on the fly, and then as I was sitting there writing a little script in my head, I said, nope, click, start. That's what I force myself to do every morning, to force myself to be immediately ready. Now, I'm already immediately ready. I can immediately get up and speak in front of 5,000 people without any preparation whatsoever and be completely comfortable with that. Pretty much zero fear. If I feel any fear, I have ways I can deal with it. But I'm wanting to get better and better and better at it. This is a very different thing. I have to come up with a topic immediately, right? I have to be able to speak to you in an impromptu way. Why am I doing this? Let me say a couple things here. So you'll notice that I'm changing things all the time as I do this, right? I'm evolving. You've seen the locations change. Yesterday, I know that the video was choppy. I'm trying something different to fix that. I know that the light on my face was not right because of the position that I'm in right now. So I brought something in to see if I could adjust that. I'm showing you guys my process. I'm showing you guys that hey, I am constantly in flux. I'm constantly in change, and I'm giving you things that are helping me along that way. Now, I got a message from someone saying, Mark, I'm kind of surprised that you reveal so many flaws. When you talk to us, you talk about problems that you're going through and things like that. He's like, don't you think that depositions you? Let's talk about this from a couple different perspectives, guys. It's very interesting. For the info marketers out there, so many of us spend so much energy attempting to put up this front of perfection. And then we savage other gurus if they show imperfection to us, right? It's very, very strange. And I'll talk about this from a couple different perspectives. Let's talk about this from, the student's perspective. There are a couple lenses through which you need to understand this. First off, their flaws that what you perceive to be a flaw may not necessarily be a flaw. Let me give you an interesting example about that. So there's this guy who is a proponent of the carnivore diet. Now, whatever you think about that, if that offends you, if you're a vegan or whatever, I need you to put that aside, okay? Because that is going to prevent you from understanding something fundamentally very, very important here, all right? So Dr. Shawn Baker, carnivore diet guru, this guy is a physical specimen, okay? So not only is he an orthopedic surgeon, he can deadlift 550 pounds at the age of 55, and he just got broke a world record on the Concept 2 rower. Now, a lot of the vegan or plant-based critics of Dr. Baker out there will point out, but his blood work is terrible. We saw his blood work and his testosterone is low. Therefore, his diet must be broken, right? And I thought, well, man, don't you think that's that's a rather narrow lens through which to look at a man who at 55 years of age can deadlift 550 pounds and just broke a world record, all right? Perhaps our perception of what these numbers mean is not what we think, okay? Another interesting facet of the carnivore diet, guys, is that, they're not getting scurvy, right? And one of the hypotheses is that it's the lack of fiber in their diet that is lessening the demand for vitamin C in the body. This is why, perhaps the reason why folks out on boats, according to the stories that we know, I think I've told this story before, but, they would get scurvy. Perhaps it's because they were eating, fibrous vegetables, but not getting enough fruit. Perhaps when you eat fibrous vegetables, you need more fruit. Perhaps when you're on a carnivore diet, your body can perform more optimally on a lower testosterone level. You got to remember that these reference ranges of numbers that we have for biomarkers are based on examining a sick population, okay? So, the ranges that we consider to be normal, well, that's normal on what I think is a very, twisted and sick baseline, first off, right? And also, we got to remember, one of my favorite sayings is, causality is not binary, causality is multivariate, okay? Everything is conditional, right? So perhaps under certain conditions, certain numbers mean different things. We need to be open to that. So when we look at a guru, a mentor, a leader, and we see something that we perceive to be an imperfection, perhaps it's not an imperfection anyway. Perhaps it's just a misunderstanding of something that requires a little bit more context. Perhaps. Now, another way to look at this through the lens of a student is, do you necessarily want a flawless teacher? If a teacher is presenting themselves to you as being flawless, to me that would be kind of a red flag. Really? Dude, you're flawless? I kind of question that. In fact, I would say that the ones who are, putting out the air of being, less imperfect, may be the ones hiding some of the deepest flaws sometimes. I would say be very, very cautious if you find a teacher who is unwilling to admit an imperfection to you. To me, that communicates a lack of honesty and humility. Okay, it also indicates that perhaps there is something underneath that they are hiding. If they are hiding that from you, what else are they hiding? So let's flip this around. Let's imagine that you are the leader. You are the thought leader, the group leader, whatever it is, the person out there in front that is being examined by everyone. Do you want to look flawless? Well, we got to be there's some nuance here that we need to understand. You don't necessarily want to go out there and be weepy all the time, because you're going to look weak, right? You don't want to be constantly harping on your flaws. That's going to make it look like perhaps you're seeking attention. This stuff has to come from a position of strength, of genuine desire to change. If I come out and express to you guys that, hey, I'm like you, an imperfect person who is constantly changing, constantly adjusting, and constantly growing, and in that process, I am working very hard to improve myself all the time, and you can see that. You see the evidence of that in everything that I do. All right. If I reveal a flaw to you from that perspective, that is actually, I think, in my estimation, as a student of persuasion and marketing psychology, right, and as a speaker and teacher about those things, I can tell you, I think that might actually improve your relationship, improve your rapport, improve the believability of what you have to say. Why? Because it's more believable, first off, and second off, people identify, or they want to identify with somebody who can transform, right? I was speaking the other day about the difference between Jocko Willink and David Goggins, right? So Jocko comes across as this perfect chiseled, Navy SEAL commander who, popped out of the womb, with an M4 in his hand and ready to roll, That sets, while some of us may admire that, I certainly admire it, I still listen to him. Some people are going to feel threatened by that. Some people are going to feel threatened. Now, by the way, I don't think you should make yourself, you should get over that if you feel threatened by people who are better than you at a particular thing. I have had that issue as well. I have combated it, and normally it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I fear them or not. It's my fantasy about the way I am perceived relative to that other person. So I may be perfectly comfortable with that person, but then if other people come around and they start to give that person more admiration, and I feel insecure in comparison about that, it's a very unhealthy dynamic. So what I've got to do is I've got to fight and say, hey, if somebody's doing better than me in the moment, if they are better than me at a particular task, instead of feeling threatened by that, instead of feeling insecure, why don't I feel curious? How are they doing that? How did they get better, right? But anyway, some people are going to deal with that better than others. Most people can't deal with it. Most people, when they see somebody who has that appearance of perfection, are quite threatened. And I think that is the impression that a lot of perception of perfect thought leaders out there, gurus out there, teachers out there, I think that is an error they are making, because I think that they would bond much more deeply with their people if they were to show, hey, you know, I have my own inner demons. I have my own inner flaws. I am battling with them presently. And I have battled with them. And I can show you the things that I have fixed. I can show you the things I'm fighting now. I can show you the things I have fought and the battles I've lost and the battles I've won. Now, when I show that openly, people are like, damn, okay, well, at least, you know, one thing I know is that this guy is not pulling the wool over my eyes. At least I know he's giving me his honest truth, you know, from a perception of intellectual honesty rather than a perception of perfection. I think that's what all of us should consider, and not just thought leaders, is everybody putting out their pictures on Facebook, right? You know, we're all putting ourselves up for examination by the crowd, are we not? So this isn't just info marketers anymore. This is everybody now that the social media era is here. So why don't you think about the implications of that on your social media profile? What are you putting up there? And is it serving you? Is it honest? And is it serving your crowd in relation to what I just talked about? I think most of us are bullshitting each other. I think we need to stop, because they ain't doing us any good. It certainly ain't going to do you any good, right? Because let me tell you one last thing about this. If you are putting your energy in creating a perception of flawlessness or a lack of imperfection, you could put that same energy into polishing those imperfections, into practicing and improving yourself. I think more of us spend time trying to find the right Insta filter and the right lighting and all that shit than we do in actually rolling up our sleeves and getting stuff done. Because that's the real juice of life, guys, is when it's those moments of you rolling up your sleeves and getting stuff done. All right? Is it not? Is that not where you get more satisfaction? Do you not look back on a day where you have really knocked it out of the park and done your best? You know, you did your routine right. You actually faced all of your challenges. And you look back on that day, don't you feel better than days where you hid? I know I do. If you think you don't feel better, I invite you to examine that as well, because you are probably anesthetized by something, or hypnotized, or both. You're probably lost in your research hole, or your YouTube hole, or your binge watch hole, or your food hole, or your combination thereof, whatever gestalt of distractions you require to hide from the fact that you're not doing the stuff on a day-to-day basis that you need to do to become the person that you want to become. You're lying to yourself if that still feels good. I'm pretty sure. But then again, I don't know you. I'm not in your skin. But man, after studying a lot of people over a long period of time, that is what I have observed. And that is certainly what I have observed in myself. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. You all have a beautiful day. And I'll talk to you all